plutonium, the smallest little particle of plutonium, if you ingest it through the air, you can get cancer from the smallest little bit of it.
One small. Now, what was very interesting is the heavy winds. They came to Portland days after this.
Yeah. We were there, yeah. It was
and we were actually about an hour outside of town where we saw a number of trees come down, large trees, and the power went out in that particular town. It was also fairly strange and synchronistic that the first day of moving was March 11th. We had planned the move several days, Alex and I, outside of town. We planned this days in advance, and the day that we're driving our stuff out of there is the day immediately after the news came out about the fallout in Japan, the situation in Japan. That was certainly a sign that we were on the right page.
Certainly a sign, that's for sure.
Okay, so moving on to the next report, Japan radiation killing sea life, warning for Oregon coast fishing industry. Well, the U.S. Department of Energy said in public statements that there is no significant quantities of radiological material deposited on West Coast beaches. According to the UN, Secretary General Ban Ki-moon said it was time to reassess the international atomic safety regime. Meanwhile, there's growing fears here in Newport, that's where this report came from, and other West Coast fishing communities that Japan's radiation will spread from its coast to here. Locals have been treated to a clear blue horizon after evenings of disturbing flaming orange and red sunsets that locals say are not so much beautiful, end quote, but sort of scary because of what's happening with the radiation in Japan. Newport and West Coast dogs reported to be acting strange in the wake of the recent tsunami. Oregon authorities have issued new strong warnings to keep humans and pets away from old dead sea life found on any Oregon coast beach, as, quote, they could become infected by a disease that's hitting the population in this area, end quote. One female biker said she fears rabid dogs that are roaming the low sand dunes called the Deans, where toxic water and dead sea life collect along sandy tracks.
Yeah, and I've also seen reports about over 50 dead sea turtles and dolphins.
Here in Oregon?
It was off the Pacific Northwest coast, so I mean it's going to be in our backyard. So much has
fallen into the ocean at this point.
Exactly. With all the oil spills, all the, I mean, the dispersants were worse than the oil spill themselves, and the EPA themselves even said don't spray the dispersants, and of course no one listens to anything. Not that the EPA is at all legitimate, but it's pretty ridiculous.
Weather models show high levels of radiation entering the United States from Japan. This is from Kurt Nimmo, posted over at propagandamatrix.com. On Saturday, Yukiya Amano, the director of the United Nations International Atomic Energy Agency, said that the Japanese nuclear crisis could go on for weeks, if not months. Tests conducted Friday, several days ago, showed iodine-131 levels in seawater 19 miles from the coastal Fukushima nuclear plant has spiked 1,250 times higher than normal. Japanese officials have insisted that this unusual level does not pose a threat to marine life or food safety. Ocean currents will disperse radiation particles, and so it will be very diluted by the time it gets consumed by fish and seaweed, said a senior agency official.
Yeah, well, I don't know. And like you just said, if they're worried about the dogs eating the fish, then what about all the other animals that are eating the animals? So if it's going out to a little part of it, then that's just gonna, be escalating. It'll be like a domino effect to all other parts of because the wildlife isn't. I mean, there's in certain parts, but sharks go from all around.
Nature,
yeah, exactly.
It's all one on this planet.
Yeah.
There's no separation.
No. Yeah.
A number of countries have banned milk and produce from areas around the Fukushima plant, while others have been monitoring Japanese seafood. Amano told the media that the Japanese have no idea if the reactor cores and spent fuel were covered with the water needed to cool them and prevent the release of radiation. More efforts should be done to put an end to the accident, said one official, and was careful not to criticize Japan's response. An official from plant operator Tokyo Electric Power Company, TEPCO, told a Sunday news conference that experts are not certain where to put the contaminated water. Scientists, quoted by the corporate media, continue to insist that radioactive particles crossing the Pacific are far too diluted to cause any harm. In fact, scientists are actually complaining that the Japanese have not forwarded sufficient information on the meltdown. They say the quality and quantity of information coming out of Japan has left gaping holes in their understanding of the disaster nearly 2 weeks after it began. Independent researchers, however, dispute claims that the radiation now lofting over the northern hemisphere is not dangerous. The Weather Online website has posted a number of animated models showing dangerous concentrations of iodine-131 and cesium-137 entering the United States with prevailing weather and jet stream. And I'll go ahead and let you read this one, and I'll comment on it.
Sign of the apocalypse. Bunker sales increase after Japan earthquake, while businesses floundering in many markets following the Japan earthquake and resulting tsunami in the U.S. The business is booming in at least one area, doomsday bunkers. Multiple manufacturers throughout the country are reporting 20% to 1,000% increases in inquiries and sales following the March 11th disaster that left thousands dead and missing in Japan, and it appears that people are willing to pay a hefty price to keep themselves and their families unscathed.
Now, people are ready to run out with cash in hand to, in their mind, take care of them and their family. And there's a whole lot of people out there that think their Federal Reserve notes are going to save them from the things that are coming upon the earth. And they're going to be rocked by reality. It's going to hit them by a ton of bricks that your Federal Reserve notes won't be able to save you from the things that are coming. Now, I'm not going to have my own bunker when these things come to fruition. I'm going to stay above ground. I may go underground, but if you're going to do something like that, try building your own shelter. But if you're just going to assume that by going underground you're going to be safe, you're omitting the reality of floods and things of that nature, potentially disrupting your pretty little plans. Now, at the Survival Center, where I was associated with Richard and, of course, the Portland Preparedness Center, run by Michael Knight, we'll show you some fresh pictures of my old business partner in just a bit. In their eyes, it's all about fear of the end of the world and getting your bunker and hunkering down.
Bird flu.
There's no community in this plan, this blueprint.
Yeah.
There's no embracing of some of the other things that we're trying to introduce ideas on this show. It's the simple hunker down mentality. And we know a lot of people are also in the mentality of running to Mount Hood when it hits the fan, not before, but during the crisis, thinking that they're going to be able to navigate all the way over to their little special spot, and they'll have their own deer waiting for them out in the woods.
Sure, yeah. And in fact, I mean, if that ever does happen, and I'm sure it'll just push the deer aren't that stupid. I mean, we've driven past a few of them that stood there and watched us, but they're going to move. I mean, when the people come in, they move.
We're going to have that instinct. The humans are coming.
Or they integrate in, like the bears are coming into where the people, you know, the suburbs and stuff.
There's nothing wrong with having a bunker, buying a shelter, but it's unrealistic for the average person to take those measures.
$50,000.
Leaves out the bulk of the population that cannot afford such a device or such a shelter. We here at Outside the Box focus on food storage and water filtration. We'll talk about a dehydrator I picked up today. There's many affordable, practical things you can do for yourself that center around food and water and community while leaving out some of the more unrealistic ways of preparing, which is limited to those that are the rich and powerful that can spend millions of dollars on. These people are buying luxury suites underground with swimming pools and bars.
And
I don't think I'm going to be partying till 6 o'clock in the morning where the solar flares come and kick our cell phones and electronics behind.
Yeah, it's pretty sickening, actually. Some of them that I've seen are just like, well, why the hell would you ever need that? You don't need that above ground. Why would you need it below ground?
Let's keep this in context with the whole conversation about solar flares and the potential that they're going to disrupt our electric grid. Would that be so bad, knowing that we live in such a zombie apocalypse culture where people are running around text messaging, doing their mating calls over their text, hi, how are you? Do you want to hang out tonight? No longer talking. Would it be the worst thing in the world if we went back to the Stone Age? Would humanity as a species collectively, would it not be humbled by nature?
It certainly would put us, we need to go back
Bring forth the modern Tower of Babel. I'm looking forward to it. So moving forward with what a Tower of Babel it is. We got lots of people babbling on in Babylon. Radiation concerns drive business at the store. That's right, folks. The PPC, where I used to work at. Again, before we go to the images, Bill, let me just preface this for those that are new viewers. I helped open up a store over at 72nd and Gleason. and I did not negotiate properly the terms of the business partnership, and I entered into a business partnership with two people that saw the power of this show, reaching lots of people, and they saw me, and they saw dollar signs, and they're like, "Let's get Alex involved.
We need to sell some Mountain House.
Let's sell some crappy Mountain House, 6-month food supply for $9.75. Yeah, and we'll tell him we're going to help him out and help him build something so he can help people." And as soon as I helped him build up the store, this guy Michael Knight, that you'll see in just a few moments, just went completely ape you-know-what on me and did everything that he could to make me quit. And we won't even get into all the details, but I've let that reality go. It's in the past. But we can see how Fox News is doing a special on the store here. Health officials continue to stress that harmful radiation from Japan will not reach the United States, but a Portland business owner says that doesn't stop customers from preparing. Not like they really know how to prepare if they're getting advice from this joker. Michael Knight owns the Portland Preparedness Center and says he's been flooded with customers following the disaster in Japan. Knight says he quickly sold out of potassium iodine, other products including surgical masks and water purification systems. Well, of course you sold out, Michael. You don't have enough in stock. When I work for you guys, you have to have more in stock. You need to have 10 of this item, 10 of that item. You don't have one of this item. And that's how these guys do business. His suppliers are also reporting backlogs. And so, do you want to be in a situation where you don't get it before, where you wait till the disaster?
Yeah, he's talking about being prepared, and he's not prepared. So
They're not prepared. The thing with these guys is it's a whole lesson, a lesson in life. You can't prepare for the world of tomorrow, Michael Knight and Richard, if you can't deal with the world of today.
Exactly.
Okay, you can't enter into shady business partnerships with people, rip a local Access TV host off, and talk about preparedness and how you care about the community when he hates you guys. He hates all the outside the box viewers. His ego was certainly threatened for no justifiable reason. So here's a couple images of my old business partner that I foolishly allowed myself to get involved in. I guess I can't really call myself a partner. I guess I would call him Master or my boss. Or
Master.
Yeah, let's go, Bill, to the other slides of this beautiful, beautiful character. But yeah, folks, these are who we got in Portland. I apologize to all of you for bringing this man to Portland, Oregon. I'm not going to call for any of you to run this Babylonian satanic figure out of town, but the eyes, Chico, the eyes are the window to the soul. So this is the guy
honestly,
that verbally bashed me for multiple months until I quit. And so got to hear a lot of negative things, about the show. He's never actually seen a show. Only negative things to say about the outside the box viewers that came in. They were more looking for the gun show people and the rednecks and the people that are terrified and getting lots of guns. They weren't trying to build community.
People who think Mountain House tastes good.
They're a part of the problem. Okay, hey, if you want to buy a $60 bucket of rice from these guys, go ahead. I can tell you where to get a $25 bucket of rice if you're willing to spend a half hour to do it yourself. Oh my God!
I know, people need
half hour. I mean, literally, just tear the bag open and put it in the bucket.
Exactly.
Tear in the bucket. 1, 2,
Eliminate
3.
the middleman.
If you're an elderly lady, I'm sure there's a young man, a young strapping young lad that might be able to help you in your neighborhood. You're not alone, folks.
Yeah, and yeah, honestly, we should get a lot more. I only was in the store a few times with you, but there was a few hand crank stuff, but we need a lot of stuff.
They got some quality things at the store.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna go in the store and get something, I would suggest you get it from somewhere else, not support the PPC. But the gray mill is a must. The gray mill is absolutely. I told them to get dehydrators. They wouldn't do it. We don't want to do it. We want to sell what we want to sell because we want to make money, Alex. You got to get with the program or get out. I mean, that was made clear to me. Okay, so I got out. So you want to, though, pay attention and shop around when it's done with food storage, water filtration devices. The Berkey's great, but you can get the Berkey cheaper online than at the PPC. So all of these things need to be taken into consideration. Look at the products. Look at some of the reviews online. If you have no knowledge of the products, look for the best deal, but take shipping and handling into consideration because if the dollar goes down and costs go up and the federal government gets more hungry for money, shipping costs are going to go up. What does that mean? That means the cost at the table, whether it be the supermarket or at a store, they're going to go up. So things that used to be a little bit more affordable a couple years ago aren't anymore.
Yeah, and it's killing mom and pop shops left and right. I mean, as we saw in the where we were, there was a couple of businesses that were for lease, and we heard that a local grocery store just shut down. So and people are hungry
you
for
gotta plan ahead. Now I'm glad I bought that crossbow.
Yeah,
that crossbow. Well, eventually these days, folks, we'll take a camera to the shooting range, but. You know, I bought that for about $220 after shipping and handling, and I talked about getting one at the store, and they're like, yeah, okay, maybe we'll sell it for $3.